welcome back to English TV Live, everyone. This is episode number 18. This is an Ask Us Anything session, so this is your chance to ask us all of those burning questions you have related to learning English. Lloyd and I will do our best to answer all of your questions, and that's about it.
That's about it. It is Ask Us Anything Day here on English TV Live. Always forgot the name there. English TV Live. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Lloyd. His name is Jacob. We have an exclusive online English community which we will open up soon to the public. If you would like to join that community, head over to EnglishTVLive.com and join the waiting list. Just type in your name and email address. It will take like 5 seconds, and we would love to have you as a part of our private community. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? So ask us anything.
Yeah, so why don't we get started with a question from one of our private members. And again, as Lloyd just mentioned, if you'd like to become a private member, you'll have the opportunity soon. Make sure you're on the wait list. Follow the link in the description. This is a question from Tony, and I think it's a really great question. The question is, I wanted to ask you how to use despite and in spite of in a sentence. Sometimes I get confused with those expressions, despite and in spite of. What I really like about these two words, these phrases, is I think it's one of those concepts that once you master, it allows you to sound really natural in English, and it allows you to do many different things with the concept. So you can make some really complex sentences and sound just like a native speaker once you master despite and in spite of. Would you agree, Lloyd?
I would agree, definitely. So just to be clear, if you want to use in spite of or despite, you are contrasting two different things. Two different things which are very different. You want to emphasize how different they are. So, for example, despite the difficult situation, she succeeded. Or you could say, in spite of the difficult situation, she succeeded. So the important thing to note here is that in spite of and despite are interchangeable. You can use them, you can use either one. In spite of, just remember it's in spite of, okay, and despite. Now you cannot say despite of. You cannot say despite of. It has to be one of those two. You have to choose one. So just to give you the example I gave you again, despite the difficult situation, the difficult circumstances, she succeeded. She overcame that situation. So that is the important to know. They're interchangeable. Another thing to remember is that despite or in spite of is followed by a noun or a pronoun. So in spite of the situation, in spite of her, in spite of him, in spite of Jacob, despite Jacob's efforts, right? Well, I don't know why I'm bringing you into this. Despite the difficulties, whatever it happens to be, it has to be in spite of or despite, followed by the noun or pronoun. Okay, that's the construction.
And I just want to add there too, one very common formation that you'll hear is despite the fact that. Despite the fact that it rained, we still had a good time camping, maybe. In spite of the fact that it rained, we still had a good time. So you can use that phrase, but it has to be after the fact. Despite the fact that. Native speakers use this all the time. Despite the fact that blah, 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 blah. In spite of the fact that blah, 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 blah. So you'll hear that very often. I hope that clears things up, Tony.
Definitely.
And let us know. I mean, you're in our
just
private
one
group,
more
so.
important thing. I'd just like to add a few more things as well, if you don't mind, Jacob. So I don't know what it's like over in Canada, so this could be interesting. But from my point of view, in spite of or despite is pretty formal, So I would rather use this in a written form. I would probably not use this too often in conversation. In spite of ... despite dot dot dot. In writing, I think it sounds really nice, looks really good. I personally wouldn't use it, I don't think I would use it too often in speaking. So in speaking, I would rather say even though, okay? Even though. So to take the original sentence we had, even though she had it, now you have to construct it differently. Even though she had a difficult situation, she succeeded. So in this case, and you could use although or even though. I think I'd use even though. It's more. Would you agree, Jacob? Even though?
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that. I feel like I do use it sometimes in everyday speech. Maybe only when I'm really trying to sound smart, though. Maybe when I'm trying to impress someone. So it
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
more
Maybe yeah,
formal, I
you're
think.
trying to sound smart. But in a casual conversation, would you use? Can you see the lightning back there?
Mm,
Well,
maybe.
um, would you use it often in a everyday conversation though?
It wouldn't be. I think I would. Maybe it depends. Depends. But I would
Would
agree
you?
with you
Okay.
that it's a
Would
little
you rather
more
use
formal sound.
even though or in spite of? Which one would you rather use? Even though or in spite of? In a common conversation.
I probably I'd more likely use even though, but I could see myself in some contexts using in spite of.
Right. But it's probably good to know that we probably Jacob and I would probably use even though more commonly. And then just one final thing to add to that before we get into your comments, your questions below, is that if you use even though or although, it has to be followed by a subject and a verb. Okay, so you cannot say it's not this like we said. In spite of the weather, right? In spite of the bad weather, we had a picnic. Okay, so in
Right.
that case, it's followed by the noun. In spite of um, being sick, I went to school. In spite of being sick. So in this case, you have the verb. Okay, sorry, yeah, the subject and the verb. So being sick, right? In spite of being sick. So sorry, getting myself confused. In even though I was sick, sorry, even though I was sick. So even though I, being the subject, was to be in the past tense sick. Okay, even though I was sick, I went there. In spite of being sick, in this case, being is the gerund form, okay, of the verb, so is the noun. So just be careful with the construction there. Whew, making
I got
myself
a
tired here.
I got a less heavy, well, one that's less related to learning English, but related to learning English from Hamada that uh, made me laugh before while you were speaking. Hamada wants to know some sentences to pick up girls.
Okay, all right. Okay, well,
Any
it's a nice
advice, Lloyd?
phrasal verb there. Pick up,
Yeah, to pick
Jacob.
up girls.
I'm gonna let you pick this one up. My goodness. Okay,
Well,
well, let's break
first
it
of
down,
all,
shall we? So the first, so pick up. What's the
yeah,
original meaning of pick up? You pick up something is on the table, on the ground. You pick it up. You pick it up. That's the original one.
and it can also mean, as sorry, I forgot the name. I think it was Hamada was saying, to pick up girls. So this is more informal, but we use it very often. If you're picking up girls, you're basically trying to get
Maybe
girls.
Jacob uses it very often.
You're basically you're basically trying to get girls to go on dates with you. That's what picking up girls means. So, some phrases to pick up girls. Now, this is a complicated topic, but I would say that there's there's no real good phrases that are magical that will just make women want to go on dates with you. So I would resist giving you lines that many people use to
But
pick up.
just one thing. Sorry, Jacob. You could call it a pickup line. So what you're talking
Right.
about there is a pickup line. So a special sentence that you say when you meet a lady or a man, and you try to attract them, try to get their number, or ask them on a date.
Yeah.
Some people, it's not always the best idea, try to use pickup lines. So remember, pickups to try to get the girl or boy to go on a date with you. So a pickup line. Do you know any pickup lines, Jacob?
Yeah, well, there's tons of cheesy ones, and by cheesy, I just mean lines that when you hear them, they make you go, ugh, like that kind of response. Um, there's the classic line that,
Creepy a little bit as well.
yeah, definitely creepy if you're actually using them, but I mean, one of the classic ones. Imagine if Lloyd is a pretty girl who I'm trying to date, and I say, Lloyd, did it hurt?
Oh dear, I've heard this one. Jesus. Okay, yeah, let's start again. Okay, so I'm okay, let's try.
Lloyd, did it
Oh,
hurt
hi. Did what hurt?
when you fell from heaven?
Oh, oh my. Oh, it's so romantic.
Right. So definitely
Wah,
don't
wah, wah.
don't use anything like that. Um, what would you say, Lloyd? Any pickup advice?
Jeez. Well, no, my advice, if you want to take my advice, would be don't use pick. I think pick up lines. If you try and use a line like you've learned the script, as Jacob just gave one there, um, there's lots of different ones. I think they come across as very cheesy. It looks very fake. I think it's my only advice would be just be yourself. Just I think it's better just to say, "Hey, nice to meet you. Hey, how are you?" That's gonna have a
Yeah.
better result than some special line that you've prepared and comes across really creepy and cheesy. I think. But hey, I'm not. Even though you may have just believed I was from our acting there, I'm not a lady. So, ladies, in the comment box below, let us know if pickup lines work on you. So, do pickup lines work on you? If somebody comes up to you and uses a pickup line, will it be attractive to you, or would you be um,
Turned off by it. Those are
weirded
good ones.
out, creeped out?
Yeah.
One more time.
Weirded out. You could also say turned off by. If something turns you off, it means that you find that thing unattractive. So, if
Yeah.
someone uses a pickup line similar to the one I just used on Lloyd, that might turn you off, right? Might make you not attracted to that person. Sashika has a
Not for
question. I have a
me.
problem.
Oh, Jake.
What is the correct way from these two? Robin is one of my friend, or Robin is one of my friends? One of my friends. You'd want the plural
Okay.
form of
Well,
the
if you
noun
say
there.
one of something,
Yeah,
you
you
say
get
one of something, then
go
you
for
should
it.
always say, yeah, in the plural form. One of my friends, one of my, uh, if you're very rich, one of my houses, one of my books, one of my parents, whatever it happens to be. So it should be in the plural form. One of my somethings. Okay. Any other
Yeah.
questions coming in?
We have some people saying yes, pickup lines work. Ahmed says for me it never does. Eva has cheesy with a question mark. And yeah, this is an interesting word. We have a few different words. Cheesy is a really hard word to define. I've tried to define it before, but I feel like every
Mm.
language has that kind of word. In Korean, for example, the Korean translation is oily, if you translate it from Korean to English. I forget exactly
Yeah,
what the
yeah, yeah,
Korean
yeah.
word is, but it's something that really makes the best way that I've found to describe it is it's a line that when you hear it, it makes you go, ugh, it's a little creepy, it's a little insincere. It just makes you feel kind of uncomfortable. And that's what cheesy describes, really.
Yeah. Basically, not cool, not cool. Like it's not impressive. It's not. Yeah, it could be a little bit old-fashioned as well. Not stylish, right? Imagine stylish and cool. The opposite would be cheesy, right?
Right.
So, not something that you want to be called, right? Cheesy. Sometimes you have a cheesy movie. You watch a movie and the
Yeah.
story is so predictable and the acting is really bad. It's very cheesy, very cheesy. Cheesy songs, cheesy dance moves, cheesy jokes, and also, as we just said, cheesy pickup lines.
Right.
It's a good word to know, though,
Someone
cheesy. And I'm sure in your
someone
language
said
you also have an equivalent.
someone just said corny too, which is exactly right. Corny is a synonym. Let's see.
Corny.
However, we have a question from Sinson. This is a complicated one. However, nevertheless, and notwithstanding, what's the difference between these and how to use them? However,
Okay. First of all,
nevertheless.
notwithstanding. Well, let's first of all let's just say notwithstanding. Notwithstanding the other two, which means um, kind of
It
like not
basically means
including,
despite.
not talking,
Kind of, would you
kind
say
of
it's,
like
I
despite,
think it means,
notwithstanding,
yeah, it's
despite.
like despite. Even more so than despite, Lloyd was talking about how despite and in spite of are kind of formal. Notwithstanding is way more formal. So you would probably never use this in everyday speech. I don't think I've ever said it myself. I don't think I've ever
Never ever.
heard.
No.
Yeah. So it's something that I used to write in my essays when I was writing papers, but it's very formal. You wouldn't use it in everyday speech. It basically means despite.
Yeah, basically that, and it's as Jacob said, it's super, 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 super formal, super formal. Like you would never. I can't think of any situation in 2018 when you'd use notwithstanding. Maybe in a court of law, if you're a
Mhm.
lawyer, you might use that. If you're a judge, but I mean, it's good to understand it, what it means. So basically, like the same as despite, but good to understand, but pretty useless in terms of using. You're not gonna use it. What were the other two words?
However and nevertheless. So nevertheless is kind of similar again too to notwithstanding
Also very
and
formal.
despite. Yeah, also very formal, a little less formal, but still something that you probably wouldn't use in everyday conversation, I would say.
So nevertheless, you want to emphasize the contrast between two things. So, but nevertheless, so like even though, it's basically the same as even though. But
Hmm.
nevertheless, we're still going to follow our plan, even if we had some problem. Nevertheless, um, nevertheless, okay, it's very dangerous. Nevertheless, I'm still going to go there. But it is super, super formal as well. Nevertheless, not with, I'll probably say it like this: notwithstanding, nevertheless, despite, in spite of, and then although, even though, and even though being the
And
most
there,
common and
yeah,
casual. Would you agree with that?
yeah, I would, and it's helpful the way that you group them together like that because they really are all related. And so is however, if you want to speak about it too in this way, they're all about contrasting things. Okay, so you say one thing and then you use these words to introduce something that's a little bit different, an idea that's a little bit different from the first thing that you said. So all of these words kind of produce that effect in some way.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is you just need to be careful about the construction, as I tried to explain, and I also got confused a little bit as well. You just have to be careful with the construction, the patterns of how to use them, because they can differ a little bit, but the basic meaning is the same. Um, Notwithstanding, nevertheless, we
Right.
should probably have maybe one more question, because I think we need to move over to our private group.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have here? Ugh, cheesy, thanks. Old-fashioned, not cool, something that we don't like. Right. Nevertheless, what is the best way to learn phrasal verbs? Okay, let's end with a general question from Jad. I think people have different opinions about this, and really, whenever you're asking a question about what the best way to learn something is, it's very difficult to answer because people learn things in different ways. So some people prefer to um, study phrasal verbs by looking at the verb and then looking at all of the different possible prepositions that could make a phrasal verb. Some people like to do the opposite. They like to look at the preposition and then look at what different verbs can be used with the preposition to form phrasal verbs. I personally like teaching it at least the other way. It makes more sense in my mind when I think about what the base form of the verb is and then trying to understand the different prepositions. Um, but it really depends on you and how you learn. And yeah, what would you say, Lloyd?
Yeah, I'd basically echo. It's a good word there. Echo means like agree with what you said. Also, try to find as many examples as you can of where these phrasal verbs are used in sentences. So, how is this phrasal verb commonly used? What type of situation? What type of context is it used? For example, pick up um, could be used in the context of trying to date somebody, and you want to use it because some phrasal verbs have several meanings, right? So pick up could be literally pick up something. It could be try to pick up a girl or a boy. So the very important thing is context. So trying to quickly recognize the context when you're reading something is very important. So yeah, as we said kind of before, repetition is the mother of skill. Um, so that's what I would say. But I probably Jacob's advice is the way to go, I'd say.
Awesome. All right, you guys. Well,
Cool.
that is it for this Ask Us Anything session. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you found it valuable. Lloyd and I, at this moment in time, are going to head over to our private group where our private audience will be waiting for us. We're going to answer some more questions there. If you'd like to be part of this private audience, this private community, you can go to follow the link in the description of this video. It will take you to a page on our website where there's a form to fill out where you can join the wait list. That's the best thing you can do right now. We're going to be opening this community very soon to the public. We're going to be introducing other teachers who will be teaching other lessons for English TV Live. It's going to be awesome. We're just growing this thing right now, and we're really excited that you guys are excited about it. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow. What are we talking about tomorrow, Lloyd?
What do we got tomorrow? Tomorrow's Wednesday. Just refresh my memory. Sorry, Jacob.
I forget what we were talking about too. I hope that you would remember. I can't remember, to be honest. It's completely escaped my mind what we're talking about tomorrow, but something good. What was the
Something
question
good.
again?
We'll let you know
Yeah,
very soon.
we'll let me know very soon. You'll see us tomorrow
Sorry
at the
about
same
that.
time. It'll be a surprise for you
See you
guys.
tomorrow, same time, same place as well. So on the English
Same
Language
place.
School page, whatever it
Yeah.
is that we're talking about, it will be something very cool and interesting. Don't worry about that. But yeah, we'll see you the same time, same place tomorrow. Hope everybody has a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time you're watching this, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.
Bye bye, everyone.